and that is the jobs report on Friday and the massive revisions we saw downward, I think, in the previous two job reports. I think it was 250,000 jobs less than we thought because of the revisions. They said this kind of downward revision hasn't happened to that scale since the 60s. Now, according to Polymarket, I think the likelihood of a September rate cut is up near 80-90%, whereas before you were thinking that Powell might raise rates in September. Of course, Trump fired the Bureau and Label Statistics lady, and another Fed governor resigned. I got to get the Jim Rickards take on what you think is happening here, or what's going to happen.
Well, you may be right about this two prior months revision, taken alone being the biggest in a very long period of time. But you have to understand, I'm sure you do, how bad the Bureau of Labor Statistics reporting has been for 2 years, over 2 years. They had a string in 2023 and 2024 where every month they came out with jobs created and they revised the prior month down. And then the next month, here's jobs created, and they revised the prior month down every single time. Now, if you said, hey, there's a little fuzziness, seasonal adjustments, statistical anomalies, there's noise, some adjustments, yeah, maybe, but they're going to be up and down or up and down, and they're going to be moderate, they're going to be within a range. That's not what was happening. The job creation was revised down almost every single month, I think every single month except one or two, by a very significant amount. That is statistically impossible unless you have a flaw in your models. Now, I don't think for 1 second that they faked the numbers or lied about the numbers. I don't believe that. I do believe they're incompetent. So I was all in favor of this woman getting fired. Everyone's like, oh, Trump's trying to shoot the messenger. But she was delivering bad messages. She was the worst messenger for 2 years or longer. I mean, at least 2 years. She might have been in longer. But my point is, when you're that incompetent, you deserve to be fired. So I was glad to see it happen, not out of revenge, not out of shoot the messenger, but because of sheer incompetence of what they did. So you're right about that. What does that mean? Well, look at the last jobs report, the one from last week that you referred to. Jobs created were about 73,000 approximately. Well, the prior months were revised down 120,000 each for May and June. There was July created 73,000 jobs. May and June revised down about 120,000 jobs per month to very low levels, by the way.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside I view is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.
Well, if you continue that pattern, then what you would expect is in the August jobs report, which comes out in early September, that July is going to be revised down 120,000, which means we lost jobs. In other words, the economy is so much worse off than we know, because we're relying on really incompetent and corrupt data. I don't say like criminal corruption, just statistically corrupt data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, number one. Number two, they report two job series every month. There's what's called the employer report, where they go out and they call companies, say, hey, how many people did you hire? How many did you fire, et cetera. It's a sample, but it's a big sample, and they draw conclusions from that. But there's also the household survey, where they call individual households and they say, hey, did you lose your job? Did you get a job? Are you looking for a job, et cetera? And they put that together. Of the two, the employer report is the one that gets all the news. That's the one we just talked about. The household survey was down over 200,000 jobs in July, meaning the employer was up 73,000, but probably going to be revised negative. But the household survey, which is generally more accurate, was already down several 100,000. So in my view, the U.S. economy is in a recession. Unemployment is going up. but it's being underreported by incompetent Bureau of Labor Statistics methodologies. And it's being ignored by Wall Street, but it's all going to, kind of come out in the wash. We'll look at revisions in the months ahead. We're going to find that perhaps, and this is an estimate, I don't know exactly, but perhaps 800,000 jobs that were previously reported are going to disappear. They never existed.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, there's a company out there called Trueflation. I think they're actually a blockchain-based company that they actually pitched us for an investment, I think, a year ago. But there's a guy named Anthony Papliano who broadcasts out of New York. He's been a guest on the show, and he's constantly referring to that metric, which I think has inflation around 1.6, 1.7%. But it prides itself in all this real-time data that you can get because of this cool thing called the internet that, of course, the U.S. government is not using. Have you looked at any of these other alternative sources? Do you trust them? And do you ever see the U.S. government going high tech and changing all this? Do you think Trump might task the BLS and the Fed to do these kinds of things?
I'm aware of them. There are a couple others out there. I've looked at them. I think they're doing a good service, but I don't talk about them a lot. And here's why. Because my job is predictive analytics. My job is to figure out what's going to happen next. Anybody can regurgitate today's news. What's hard is telling people what's going to happen next. Well, if I'm going to do that, I have to kind of put the government hat on. And what I mean by that is if the Fed is relying on the Bureau of Labor Statistics and markets are relying on the Fed, I think they're full of problems. But I'm as critical as anyone. I just criticized the BLS, so we can spend another half hour telling you why the Fed's irrelevant. But so I'm very able to critique them, but I can't ignore them because other people are relying on them. Wall Street's relying on them. Policymakers are relying on them. And if I want to predict Wall Street and policy, then I better look at those numbers, however flawed, and they are flawed. I better look at those numbers to predict what other people are doing, even though I don't believe them myself. I'm still trying to get the prediction right.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.